Having tried all available at that time on the market box solution, I have not found anything that could at least 50% to meet the needs of a small service center of 15-20 people with a turnover of 20-30 repairs per day. I also realize that the company's turnover is growing and there is a need to automate most business processes, and also synchronization of accounting system with external backend software systems. In this regard, I begin to search for analogs of software abroad, realizing that the West is ahead of us in development. And one of such products was Gincore. Initially, this platform was presented only in the English version, but today it has already been translated into Russian, and there are representative offices in Ukraine, Russia, and Kazakhstan. Why I chose this particular software product for my business. The first thing I like is that in the accounting system we can see whether a repair order has a spare part or not. And so the purchasing manager, i.e. the purchasing department, can see which orders he still needs to process. The warehouse system is based on technology where each product has its own unique number and identifier. In other words, when 10 phone loops are received into the warehouse, we can always trace the fate of each individual loop. One was installed for repair, for example, order 8484. The second was written off as a defect and is in such and such a cell. The third was returned to the supplier, and so on. This is the foundation of any warehouse system. Each item that enters the warehouse from the outside must be assigned a unique number, an identifier. We have implemented an address-based storage system. Each spare part and each repair order has its own unique number. Each place, each tray in the service center also has a unique number. Thus, in the inventory management system, we can see not only all the goods and repairs, but also the exact address where such a part is located at the moment. Before the implementation of the address-based storage system, it was quite difficult to find anything on the territory of the service center. There were situations that were ridiculous. When a customer came for his device and we simply could not physically find his phone or tablet on the territory of the service center, we had to call the employee who last worked there with this device, an engineer, for example, and such searches took 15-20 minutes. It was unnecessary nerves, unnecessary wasted time of both the service center staff and the client. Each customer order is connected with an order to a supplier, and the order to the supplier in turn is linked to the logistics module. Thus, there is an end-to-end integration of all business processes. This is very convenient. If a customer wants to know his repair status, he only needs to go to the site and enter the order number. And instead of the standard uninformative status in the repair process, which can last for weeks, he sees a real live feed of events. That is, he sees exactly when this repair was submitted to the engineer, when the part was ordered, when the part was inventoried, when it was submitted to the engineer for repair work, and when the repair work was completed. That is, in fact, the customer has the opportunity to be present, to participate in the process itself. Implemented event logging system, that is, the administrator can see when and at what time this or that employee performed this or that action. This is very convenient from the security point of view. Customer service standards have been programmed into the CRM system. Previously, a lot depended on the human factor. For example, an engineer could put aside a complicated repair and forget about it. The purchasing department could forget to order the necessary spare part. The warehouse could forget to ship the spare part in time for the repair, and so on. Now, all these processes are programmed into the system, and the system controls the terms of their fulfillment. That is, if the repair engineer does not perform within 2 days, respectively, this order changes its status and color, as well as notifications to the responsible employee. This greatly simplifies the process of order processing and has significantly reduced the number of complaints and dissatisfaction from customers. The accounting system has an application that displays not only its own balances, but also the balances of suppliers' warehouses. This is very convenient. For example, how was a conversation on the phone with a client before this integration? A customer calls and asks if you have a display for Meizu, May 4, for example, and if it is possible to repair it. The call center operator replies that there is no such display in our own warehouse, but he will now clarify and call the client back. Accordingly, clarification and callback to the client could take up to 10 minutes of time, or even more. How the conversation happens now: the client calls, asks if the display on Meizumi 4, then the operator of the call center looks that she owns stocks of such a display is not available, but such a display is in the warehouses of suppliers, and immediately responds to the customer that yes, indeed, we can make these repairs, but they will take about 2 days. This is due to the fact that the display is currently in the warehouse of suppliers. It needs to be brought in, and only then we can replace it. Accordingly, we have reduced the service time per call from 10 minutes to 10 seconds. The logistics module. How is the movement between service centers and branches? If we need to move an order, for example, from the central branch to the Obolon branch, then we scan this order, scan the cell, which is called to Obolon. At this point, immediately after scanning, this cell initializes a new order in the system for the logistics department, and logisticians see that it is necessary to move the order from the central office to Obolon. Courier arrives, picks up the order scanned on his personal card. After that, the information is immediately displayed in the system that at the moment the repair is in the logistics department of such a particular courier. Arriving at the Obolon branch, courier scans from his card this order on the cell from the central branch. After that, the order is moved from the courier, from the logistics department to the Obolonsk branch, and is already displayed in the system directly at the Obolonsk branch. Purchasing automation module. When the number of devices in our catalog exceeded 400 units, and the number of spare parts for them began to number in the thousands, we face such a problem as maintaining current stock balances. Because a human being is no longer capable of manually handling such a large number of spare parts. Therefore, Gincore has developed and implemented a procurement automation module. This is a very convenient application as it calculates how many spare parts should be purchased to the warehouse based on the sales of previous periods. You only need to specify the period for which you need to calculate purchases. Also, this program takes into account trends, i.e. the number of sales is increasing or decreasing for a given part. Accordingly, it forecasts and recommends you to purchase parts for the next period, taking into account the trend. Similar software is used by large retail chains to maintain up-to-date stock and assortment on their shelves. Automation of cash and settlement operations. We decided to save money on a cashier and an accountant and developed a hardware-software complex electronic cashier. This terminal allows you to make settlements with customers as well as employees. That is, the client can enter the number of his repair, pay for it, and the terminal will give him change and a check. Also, the employee can receive a salary by entering the number of the cash voucher. This is quite conveniently solves many problems, including those related to the human factor. That is, the error of the accountant and cashier in the process of mutual settlements with customers and employees. It also solves problems with the storage and security of cash. The integration of IP telephony and CRM system. We integrated IP telephony and CRM system, which in turn allowed us to track the channels of customer attraction, to measure exactly how much money we spent on attracting this or that client and what profit this client brought to the company. Also, integration allowed us to track the efficiency of call center operators, i.e. to measure conversions for each operator. One person sells better and another person sells worse. That is, we measure it all and take appropriate measures. I think this module is necessary because without it, it is impossible to experiment with advertising channels, and marketing in general is impossible without this tool. In addition to the publicly available technologies listed above, we have implemented some of our own know-how. But the main thing I want to emphasize is that not every software provides such opportunities for developing your own business. Therefore, I recommend you to be very responsible when choosing a software product on the basis of which you are going to build your own business.